popped up, so this may be a shorter stream than I'd hoped. But as I was saying, I use a piece of software called Hero Designer 6 to do a lot of the character building, and you see it open on the screen in front of you at the moment. And all I can say is if you really do decide you want to get into Champions, I can't recommend the software enough. It makes character generation a lot faster, a lot easier because it takes care of a lot of the math and everything that you might have heard Champions is what do you call it, infamous for. It's not hard math, even if you don't have the software, but some people don't like it. So, and yes, Wondergoon, I think the whole stream dropped there for a second or two. My numbers are really, 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 really bad. So I don't know how far we're going to get with this tonight. I may have to try again another time. Whatever they said was the problem was not the problem with my internet. Um, so yay. Muddle through a little bit longer and see if it'll keep somewhat stable. So tonight, with the hero system, it's a good thing I was talking about character generation because tonight what I'm planning on going over is something a lot of people wrestle with and have trouble with, and it plays on what my last stream about the system was with skill rolls and skills, and that is normal characters. Now, the reason this plays with uh, that last stream on skill rolls and skills is because there is a tendency in the game to do skill roll bloat. That is, the main system works on 3 die 6, and you roll 3 die 6, and you're trying to get below a certain number. And a lot of people take that to mean that they need skills to make their character competent in it of around 15, 16. And it's like, no, to be competent in it, you just need an 11. So that said, we're going to be looking at some builds of some just normal people. No super happy powers, no heroic level stuff. So we're going to start off, in fact, with a completely incompetent normal. Now, incompetent level normals are built with negative points. So let's start off with File, New Character, 5th Edition Rules, Normal. And you can see that it starts off with my rule set that I have, with the base points of 75 and disadvantage points of 75. Well, all that goes away. That's 0, and this can be up to 25 for an incompetent normal. Now, the thing is an incompetent normal actually is built on negative points. So, um, if you're looking at it, uh, they start out at minus 20 to minus 25 or even less points. So how are you going to do that? Well, in the end, the only way to do it is sell back some of their characteristics. So with that in mind, well, what is an incompetent character? Well, we're talking about your 8-year-old little brother or your grandmother or grandfather who's getting old on up there in years or something like that. Um, it's just somebody who's not in the best physical condition, not in the best physical shape or mental shape or something to that effect. And so, with that in mind, we're going to go with, say, an 8-year-old child for this build. Somebody's little brother that might pop up as a DNPC for a superhero game. Because little brothers are nosy and they're curious and they get into trouble, right? And that's what a DNPC is there for. So we're going to point out that these 10s, that's normal human. Okay? So an 8-year-old child is going to be lower strength than that. So for every 5 points of strength, your strength doubles as far as your max lift and things like that. So for an 8-year-old, I think probably about a 7 is probably right about where it should be. Dexterity could be 10, but I'm going to knock it down to 8. All right. And Constitution, I'm going to knock that down to 8. And you see so far we're at minus 13 points. Body should definitely be down a little bit because body is your physical stature. It's your hit points. When you run out of body, you're dead. So having a smaller body, an 8-year-old is of course going to have less body than a full-grown human. Alrighty. Intelligence can probably stay at 10, so can ego. Presence, on the other hand, is probably not going to be as high. Presence is that aura of authority and so forth that you have. You know, at 8 years old, you may have a high presence with your peers, but you're probably not going to get anything other than a chuckle by yelling "freeze" at an adult, right? So we're going to lower his presence, and that's already put us at minus 24 points. Now, we are going to do one thing. I'm going to boost the speed back up to 2, so that puts us at 22. So we still need to lose 3 points. And where can we do that? Well, let's take off an inch of running. That's a game inch, so that's 2 meters. And an inch of swimming. They're just not as fast all around because they're smaller. So there we go. We've got our minus 25 base points that we're starting with. And then we can have up to 25 points of disadvantages. So what are appropriate disadvantages for an 8-year-old? Well, hunted by more powerful. It's a watch, though, and that would be parents. Right? Am I right or am I right? Money. Child is probably on the poor side. Let's give this child a reputation for being a troublemaker. So on an 8 or less, on 3 dice 6, he's recognized as, oh yeah, you're that kid. Yep. And, oh yeah, social limitation. And it's very frequently and major, and that is that he's a child. And we're getting a warning that puts us over. So we're going to take one of these off. We're going to take off the money. We're going to say he can find the money that he needs. Or actually, you know what? Let's put the money back and take off the watched. There. Oh, I still got 30 points. Okay, so we'll take off the money as well. All right, so now we've got 25 points of disadvantages on our little incompetent normal. And then we come over here to skills, because that's pretty much where normal people are going to spend most of their points. And as a matter of fact, we have to keep his total points at 0, so we only have 25 points we can spend. And the first thing that should be done is actually to list out, in my opinion, what we call everyman skills. But then again, this is an 8-year-old, so not all the usual everyman skills should probably be applicable. And that's where the GM makes the call. Modern setting proposed everyman skills, which are skills that everybody has at least some knowledge, some understanding of, are things like acting, climbing, concealment, conversation, deduction, native language, paramedics, persuasion, professional skill, shadowing, stealth, transport familiarity, and an area knowledge. Now, One thing that there's definitely going to be there for the 8-year-old is going to be acting. Now we have to edit it because it comes up at the 3-point level, and familiarity only, every man, and now you see it costs 0 points, and it gives us an 8 or less roll on the skill. Because anybody who's been around 8-year-olds knows they're pretty good at acting. You know, hey, I didn't do it. Okay, so they're not that good, but they're good enough that they can fool you sometimes. So that's definitely one. Climbing, yep, I've seen plenty of 8-year-olds climb. So again, familiarity, every man. All right, concealment, yep, they're good at hiding. And that's one of their favorite games after all, is hide and seek, right? And conversation, I'm going to argue to leave that one off. Conversation is being able to to talk to people, to get information out of them by just talking to them. 8-year-olds aren't really good at that yet, even at the 8 or less level. They're learning. That's where they're starting to learn that. So we're going to leave that off his everyman list. The same with deduction, which is, again, being able to assemble the clues and say, they're just starting to learn that at about that age level. So we're going to leave that off. I've always used concealment as both. Wondergoon asks, wouldn't stealth be used to hide? Isn't concealment used for hiding things on their person? Concealment is often used as to hide things on you, or just flat out hide things. But this intellect skill represents a character's ability to hide things and to find things which others have hidden. So you are correct, Wondergoon. So we'll definitely be keeping stealth on his everyman skills as well. And I'll explain why I'm worrying about this in just a little bit. So language is next, or actually knowledge skill area. We'll call it a city knowledge, though. Instead of trying to come up with something, we'll just call it the neighborhood. Oh, wait, got to edit it. Familiarity, everyman. Okay. And now language. And that would be idiomatic. We'll make it English. And we'll make it native tongue. And most kids are still literate in it. They can read and write by 8. Maybe not well, but they can do it. Okay. Paramedics. I'm going to say leave that one off. They may be able to apply a band-aid, but they're not going to know when to get a tourniquet, right? Persuasion. I will give them that one at 8. Primarily because, again, if you've been around even a 5-year-old, they know how to persuade you to do things. Professional skill, not even gonna go there. And shadowing, no. Well, no, kids do know how to follow each other pretty well, don't they? So we'll put shadowing in there. And finally, stealth. And it didn't click. There we go. Now, the reason I did this is because, again, these are skills that everyone knows, that everyone in the campaign milieu, the setting, should have some familiarity with. And in fact, that's all they have is a familiarity, 8 or less. But the reason I put that, I like to get those out of the way first, is because that's a basis. So what else should this kid have as far as skills? Or let's look at perks or talents. Well, he could be ambidextrous, but I'm going to say not. He could be fearless, but probably not. Combat luck, berserk fury, this is what I was saying. Most of these are not appropriate. If it was a fantasy setting, mage sight or something like that, where they can see magic might be appropriate. You know what? We will give him rapid healing. Kids bounce back, right? All right. So now we're going to put in a new separator. And then we'll start worrying about the skills. But this gives us a base point from which to work. Okay? So we've already spent 5 of the 25 points with that one talent. And so let's see. Um, you know what? We're going to give this kid the actual acting skill. Or actually, no, we're going to give him a familiarity with acrobatics. He knows how to do some tumbling. And let's just fill in some holes like that. Let's see, what are some other good ones? Uh, Going through the skill list here real slowly. Sorry about that. Demolitions, that would be a good one, right? For an 8-year-old. Um, you know what? Let's give him a familiarity with gambling. You know, what kid? Well, kids my age at least, we're probably the last ones used to shoot marbles, and which you'd lose your marbles to other players that were better than you. So it was considered gambling. So we'll consider it gambling still. That he knows how to shoot marbles or play jacks or something like that. Some kid's game. Break fall for falling off skateboard or out of trees. I like that. Wait, thank you, Wonder Goon. I thought about it and then changed my mind. And you know what? I'm going to give him the full skill on that one. And so we're at minus 15 points, so we got 15 more points we can give to him. Let's see. Let's give him a knowledge skill. Elementary school. Well, let's call them peers. His peers at school. Just a second. Night, buddy. Night, night. Sorry about that. Had to say goodnight to my grandson. All right. So he knows who his peers are in school. And, on the same token, we'll let him know the school hierarchy. He knows that understands that there's a hierarchy among the school and the school grounds and all of that. And let's see, what else? Let's look at that one. Yeah, let's give him a familiarity with mimicry. He knows how to imitate people and imitate bird sounds and things like that, but not very well. And let's see. What else can we get this kid into? We're going to give him a little bit of sleight of hand. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm building up a very low level, mostly familiarity kid. And, he knows how to do certain things, but he's not good at it yet. But it does set up the whole thing for his later career, if you will. And we still have 8 points left. And so that's where I'm going to get in. I'm going to insert it before. And we're going to give him the full acting skill. And it says I've already had acting, but we're going to delete it here. And this is something, actually, let me note that. Um, to get the full skill from an everyman skill, normally this familiarity would cost you 1 character point. But to get the everyman skill, you still to make the full get the full skill from an everyman skill, you still have to pay the full cost. You don't get that 1 point for free. So, but we can now delete it out of our everyman skill. And so now he's got a 10 or less chance instead of an 8 or less chance of doing that acting thing. And in fact, let's bump that up 1 point. Let's let him be good. He's able to turn on the waterworks and things like that. He knows when to blubber and when to move on and things like that. Um, and so there we go. And so we got 3 more points we can spend. And I'm trying to think now because now I'm down to the wire. And, with 3 points left, actually, we'll just leave it there. You've gotten the point. This is how to do an incompetent normal, and not a single roll is over 11 or less. But if you think about it, an 11 or less on 3 dice 6, you're going to get that 50% of the time. So, if the GM even requires you to do a roll, which for easy tasks probably shouldn't at an 11 or less level, you've got a 50% shot at it. Transport familiarity bicycles. I like it. I like having you around, Wondergoon. You keep me straight. So muscle powered 2-wheel. And so now we're down to 2 points that we could spend. But the point is still there. We've got the basic root and gist of the character. And there other you know what? Yeah, we're gonna make him where he lives come or cold, so he's gonna have sled transport familiarity too. He knows how to bobsled down the hill. But again, you get the idea. An incompetent normal is going to be just that. We're going to start with characteristics, and you've got to sell some of them back to get to the negative points base that such a character should have. Then you can add on some skills, and they're going to have some everyman skills. Trading, I like that. Going to have some of these everyman skills. And there we go. So they're not going to be completely clueless in the world. And then we can tack on from the disadvantages some skills and talents and end up with a character, a fully complete character. And I think you can see where this is going also with the higher levels, higher base points of some of these things as they come up, as we do some of the more competent normals here in a moment. The point being, this character isn't bland, and this is an incompetent. This is actually a pretty tough 8-year-old kid. Characteristic wise, no. They're about right probably for an 8-year-old. But with that talent of rapid healing, which means per hour of rest he regains 1 body. Remember, kids bounce back. This guy is a troublemaker, so he's tough. And then his skills, yeah, he's set up pretty tight. Having played in a game system called Kids on Bikes, which is set up to be, what's that kid show? Anyway, haven't played a system like that. Stranger Things, that's it. Thank you, Wonder Goom. Um, this is a character you could probably take into a Stranger Things campaign, style campaign. Um, you know, is he able to do a lot? Nope. But he's a kid. Is he going to be really good at it? Nope. But he's a kid. So it's appropriate to that setting. This is appropriate to um, a DNPC, a dependent non-player character for a higher level character. So yeah, this is how you do it. All right. So let's move on to the next level. Let's move on to let's see, what is it? A skilled normal. So we come here, we do normal. A skilled normal starts with 25 base points, so they're a little better. Well, they're a lot better than the unskilled, and they can again have 25 maximum points of disadvantages. So with that in mind, we've got let's do disadvantages first. I always like doing disadvantages first so that I've got the total points that I've got to play with. All right. So again, this is a skilled normal, so a few disadvantages are right out the window. Accidental change. This is for somebody that becomes a werewolf or something. Um, I think that's the only one that's just susceptibility. This is like kryptonite with Superman. This is something that is normally innoxious to everybody else, but causes you problems. So I could see with an allergen or something like that this might be a viable limitation, but probably not unless you are doing something like a really serious allergy. A really serious allergy. So that said, let's say this is a working man. So he's got our incompetent that we just made uh, as a DNPC. And Charlie gets in trouble periodically. He's a troublemaker, right? All right. So that's 15 of our 25. We only need 10 more points. Let's give him a psychological limitation in here. Um, let's see. What would be a good one for a working class guy? Um, or not necessarily a working class guy. I'm going to make him like me, a scientist. So, um, cool. Um, emotionally cool. Curiosity. I like that one better. Thank you. And let's see. That's going to come up frequently. It's only going to be slightly impairing, though. And there we got our 25 points of disadvantages. So, once again, let's lower his strength a little bit. He doesn't work out too much. Dex con body, let's leave that at that. Let's bump his intelligence though up to 13. Ego up to 13. Presence, he's not too impressive of a fellow. And the rest can stay where it's at, I think. Yes. So again, we can come in here. We can, not a new separator. Am I sure? That is one annoying thing about this software is it likes to second guess you constantly. All right. So again, going through those, we've got acting. I'm just going to go through and mark them on. Then we can edit them in a moment. Climbing, concealment, conversation, deduction, Okay. Knowledge skill, where is that? For the area. We'll call it Cityville. Let's see. Native language. Idiomatic. I went too far again. Native tongue, literate. Okay. And let's see, going on from there. Paramedics, persuasion. Professional skill. Let's see if it's already in the pull down. Nope. Okay. So there we go. Shadowing, stealth. Transport familiarity. Motorized. Okay. Now, this should be an everyman skill, and you'll notice it costs 1 point. So that brings up, going back to this, we've got to do a custom adder and subtract that point. And now you see it comes out to be 0, but it informs you that you've got a custom adder there. So now we got to go through and edit all these things. Back to everyman level. This is another thing about the software, I should say, that kind of annoys me too, is it goes ahead when you click on some of these skills and doesn't pop up this menu. You've got to go back and edit it, and I think this should pop up for all skills immediately. And I will discuss some more of these everyman skills because some of them just need to be clarified a little bit. And I need to point out something about that professional skill. We're almost done. Just a second. All right, so there we go. So anyway, some people might go, well, not everybody knows how to be a paramedic. That's not what this is saying. At 8 or less, it's a familiarity. Okay? That means you know to immobilize a broken limb, like a broken arm or leg. You know, most people know you try to keep that still as possible if you've got to move the person, that you don't move a person if you don't have to. Things like that. Shadowing. Most of us have a passing idea of how to follow somebody without being seen and noticed. Okay? And that's what these everyman skills are about. They're familiarities. They're skills that everybody's got a little bit of sense of, but not everyone has the full-blown skill where they can just climb up anything and everything. But most of us can grab a hold of a branch of a tree and pull ourselves up into a tree and maybe climb a little bit higher. That's what this is about. Okay? So these are the everyman skills. And we're going to do a new separator there. And now we've still got 45 of our 50 points to play with. So since this guy is going to be a scientist, first thing I'm going to do is give a skill enhancer called Scientist, which helps with all science skills. Science. Okay, so since he's a geophysicist, we're going to give him Science. physics. And we're going to base that off of intelligence. Now, what the scientist roll did, she blinded me with science, yes. What this does is it subtracts 1 point from every science skill. So to get this science based on intelligence is normally 3 points. So it cost him 2 instead of 3. So basically, if you're going to have more than 3 of whatever type of skills these enhancers practice on, you want to go ahead and buy the skill enhancer. It's a little bit of min-maxing, and this system has things where it lends itself to it. So keep that in mind. And geology. And because of the other two, mathematics. Because believe me, physics and geology actually do require a lot of mathematics. Yes. And one more, smattering of chemistry. And actually, one more than that. One more finally. Geophysics. Now, some might be going, well, no, that's a stream for professional. The thing is that I will point out though is you do not generally have to get the general skill to get the more narrow skill. Having the physics skill would give you some little bit of knowledge of geophysics because you're able to do forces and flexure and stuff like that, such as that. Similarly, knowing some geophysics will give you some knowledge of the principles of physics that went into it. Of course, knowing a little bit about geophysics, I can also tell you that geophysics would give you a little bit of chemistry knowledge because you know how rocks form, their chemical formulae, and what goes into them. So, but this makes him a good scientist, and we've spent 18 of our 50 points possible. So that's a pretty good list. So let's do a new separator and let's just go for other skills now. Let's see. You know what? He likes to climb because he's had to climb over hills and get that geophysics degree. So he actually has the climbing skills. So we'll remove that from everyman and put that down here below. All right. And kind of like his son, he therefore has the break fall skill. Okay. He knows how to take a fall. And let's see, that gets us up to 24 points. And let's see, he knows a little bit about bureaucratics because he has to deal with the bureaucracy all the time in his job. Not to mention the filing, applying for grants, and things like that. Let's give him a perk. Um, you know, let's go ahead and make him where he's been doing this for a while, so he's kind of well off. And any talents? I think we'll leave that off. Oh, wait. Uh, we're going to give him that talent. Eidetic memory. He's got a photographic memory. So that works there. Oh, yes. Skills. Instructor. He knows how to teach what he knows. And finally, let's give him inventor. He knows how to scrounge around and do things new and unique. And finally, let's take deduction out of everyman's skills and give him the full-blown skill. And now we have a nice scientist built up. We've still got 4 points we can play, so let's come back with our characteristics. And that leaves us with 2 points. And so let's do that too. Keep his presence back up. And now we have a 50 points of disadvantage, 100 total point, skilled normal. And to be perfectly honest, I'm going to say that I've been tempted many times to require my characters in superhero games, at least, to fill out and design a 50 points of disadvantages normal character as their starting base. Because so many times super characters leave out all of these nice background and other skills other than the everyman skills, and so that all they can do and all they are is their superpowers. Well, it's a superheroic game, yeah, but not everything is going to be combat. Not everything is going to be, uh, um, you know, trying to jail the bad guys. Sometimes it's going to be trying to figure out what the bad guy was doing, or figuring out who the bad guy was. How are you going to do that if you don't have some skills that will help you do that? How are you going to find out what happened if you don't have some skills that allow you to analyze the ground and things like that? So it's been tempting, and I haven't done it yet, but it's been tempting to require superhero characters to start out making a 50 total point normal character, just like this one, on which to start building their superhero character. Wonder Goon, I'm for that. It would be interesting to play out the radiation accident origin story. Then there's that. You know, we start with the 50 normal character, and at some point in the future, bam, there's an incident that suddenly your characters find, they have powers. This could be something along the lines of, if you're familiar with the series of short story anthologies called Wild Cards, this could be like that. There's been a few comic books that do that. Your main characters start out as normal people, and then bam, suddenly they get powers. Cloak and Dagger comes to mind. So I've thought about doing it for non-radiation event characters. Just start with this, give me this character, then we'll start playing with your superhero. But at the same time, I've thought about doing, yes, the radiation accident campaign where the characters start out as normal people. I've even thought about doing it where they have to figure out what their powers are, so they start out uncontrolled. No conscious control, that's it. Or something to that effect, where at first at least I decide when they work as the GM. Not everybody is up for that sort of campaign, though. Some people like knowing what they're doing and what they can do and being in control. So, keep that in mind if you're a GM. Don't spring this type of thing on your character, on your players. And it's also kind of bad to do a bait and switch where you tell them, okay, we're going to do a normal people campaign, and then 5 sessions in, bam, suddenly they're superheroes. This may be deemed a good thing, but the players came in thinking they were getting one campaign, and you've sprung now another type of campaign on them. That's not necessarily or usually considered a good thing. Some players will roll with it. Some will get upset. So keep that in mind. So anyway, this is a skill normal, and if you'll notice, the highest skill roll he has is still 12 or less. So, these skills don't have to be 15s and 16s for your character to be good at the skill. 8 or less, like I said, is a familiarity. You kind of have some idea what's going on. I mean, if you think about it, on 3 dice 6, that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you've got 6 chances that